a rich man's world. I have turned the song of this
You're listening to the Breakdown Podcast, presented by Flea Flicker Highlights.
a rich man's world. I have turned the song of this beautiful land, but
Welcome to the Monday edition of the Breakdown Podcast presented by Flea Flicker Highlights. I'm your host, Wade Rainey, joined as always by my co-hosts Tyler Bush and Pal Patel. Huge football weekend this weekend. Tons of action in college football and the NFL as well. So let's hop right in. It was conference championship week, one of the best weeks of the year for college football, and it was a little bit underwhelming in terms of the quality of game. But let's just run through all the big results. You had Kansas State taking down TCU in a thriller. Definitely the best game out of any of the Power 5 conference championship games. You guys catch that one? What'd you think of Kansas State? Really impressed me.
Kansas State did a phenomenal job containing TCU. I thought TCU was going to run away with it in the fourth quarter, but they didn't. Kansas State stuck with him. Duggan for TCU, 18 for 36, not his best performance. 250 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, struggled in the fourth quarter as
Kansas
well.
State dominated on the ground with Vaughn, 130 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn. If you haven't watched Deuce Vaughn play, if you're not familiar with Kansas State, make sure you catch their bowl game. He's 5'6" and absolutely electric. Following the footsteps of Darren Sproles, of course, Kansas State legend, very similar player, both in terms of stature and skill set. But yeah, he's electric. And TCU, I mean, we'll get into the rankings a little bit later, but they don't lose their spot for the loss, which I think is good from the committee. Let's move into the game that decided the Group of 5 NY6 Bowl berth. Tulane gets their game day revenge against UCF, or lack of game day. But
I picked UCF to win this game, but Tulane, they came out firing, won by 17, and it was on the shoulders of the running back Spears, and 134 yards from Watts, their receiver. All around, this is a great performance from Tulane, and those sick jerseys, they get to celebrate a little more.
Yeah, seriously, I'm so happy for that program. This is their best season since it's been almost 30 years. It's their best season since like the late 80s or something like that. Like they haven't been on a national stage. They finished the season ranked in the top 20 for now. I think they got unlucky with their bowl matchup. Honestly, I feel like against other teams they would have a shot, but I mean, it's not looking too good right now, but they've had a great season, and this is a great way to kind of top it off.
Yeah, 11-2 is a great season, so congrats Tulane.
yeah, and one thing about this game that I wanted to point out, it's a great advertisement, and it shows just how good of a decision this is from the playoff committee. It's a great advertisement for having important games on campus. The atmosphere was absolutely electric in New Orleans.
For a Tulane football game, it was an atmosphere that a lot of people did not see coming. The students were out there. There was a lot of alumni out there. I mean, it was a packed stadium, and you don't really see that for Tulane games. Even when they're playing in a top 25 matchup, like the stand, it's kind of like Vandy, where the stands are kind of empty. Doesn't matter who they're playing. Type of mentality, but it was really different, and it's a great showing for Group of 5 as a whole, and then the American Conference, really, because they've been the best Group of 5 conference for a while.
Yeah, and the rest of the games, rest of the big games, the Power 5 games, that is, everyone handled their business. Georgia blows out LSU. Clemson just demolishes North Carolina. Like, I mean, the ACC is a joke.
Yeah, I want to talk about Clemson a little bit because their future, it looks pretty bright in my opinion. And this South Carolina matchup that we have with the Gamecocks,
it's going
to get very interesting going.
We may have inadvertently helped Clemson with that.
Yes.
Seriously, by exposing DJ and showing them that they have a real gem here, in their backup spot. I know you wanted to say some things about how he played, but it's really something else.
Yeah, you only missed 4 passes. And from the mind of a Clemson fan, being there a couple weekends ago, hearing a couple Clemson fans express how their team was. They knew they had a good roster this year, and their only position they were missing was quarterback. They knew that all season long. They found out last year that DJ wasn't the guy, but Dabo stuck with him all year long. Now, Kay Klubnik is a chance for them to finally maybe get back to the college football playoff next year.
Yeah, and they've got one of the best matchups. One of the best matchups of bowl season, in my opinion. I think it'll end up being one of the best games versus Tennessee in the Orange Bowl, of course.
Yeah, the Beamer Bowl, we like to call it. Both the teams that the Carolina Gamecocks beat, Tennessee and Clemson. That will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, so here's what I'll ask about these other two games. We'll start with LSU, Georgia. How confident are you, scale of 1 to 10, that Georgia wins the national championship this year?
I think this is Georgia's best team they've had in the past decade, even though, I mean, they're routing every single team they play, and their numbers are better than last season with less NFL-bound players. Like,
I give them. I think in my opinion, it's 50-50 if Georgia wins it or not. I think that the other 50% comes down to Michigan and Ohio State. I think that Ohio State will. I think that Ohio State probably will pose a bigger problem to them than Michigan or TCU would in the national championship, because that offense is just so dynamic. They're going to be coming off the absolute lowest point of their season, probably of a lot of these guys' careers as Buckeyes. And the fact that they have this playoff opportunity, they're gonna use it to its fullest, and it's gonna be Georgia that gets the bare end of that. So we'll see how it goes. I expect great things from C.J. Stroud in this matchup, though.
Yeah, I've got myself at a 7 out of 10 for Georgia to win the national championship. I just don't think I do agree with you that Ohio State's going to be their biggest test because they do the most offensively. I just don't see J.J. McCarthy in Michigan being able to do much through the air, and then obviously their big strength is Blake Corum on the ground. But of course, that's also Georgia's kind of bread and butter.
Hey, I think that the underrated kind of matchup that we have is Georgia's offense it's a problem. Like you can't just expect to score more points than Georgia and win, because this is a Georgia team that just hung 50 on LSU, and so I think that Ohio State's defense, I mean, they looked very vulnerable against Michigan through the air. They were giving up big plays left and right. I think that that's going to be a similar kind of concern going into this one is making sure that Stetson Bennett and those athletes can't get that deep ball going, because that Georgia's going to be able to run the ball on them. So I just think it comes to damage, like damage mitigation, just making sure that you don't let them beat you up top as well.
Yeah, and then let's talk about the Big Ten championship briefly. Michigan beats Purdue 43-22. Struggled in the first half, turned it on in the second. Donovan Edwards had an excellent game. J.J. McCarthy, decent. They just didn't need to throw the ball very much. Just so good on the ground. Once again, big key for this Michigan Wolverines team is Blake Corum needs to get healthy if they're going to have any sort of chance winning the national championship. If he does, I think they're, as much of a sleeper pick as the number 2 team in the country can be. But I just feel like Georgia is like so much the public focus right now that
we have to remember that this is a Joe Harbaugh team where, these guys are all of these guys have been recruited by him personally. I know that you're talking about Corum a lot, but I did not see anything that would make me too concerned with this Michigan offense. I think that they approach this game the same way if they had Corum or if they didn't. I think that they know what they want to do, which is run the football, and they're going to do that with or without their running back one. And if they don't, then it's just going to be a next man up mentality, because they've given up too much to get to this spot. They were in the playoff last year. Like, it doesn't matter to them that they don't have him. Like, they're gonna still attack it the same way. And I feel like if we hadn't seen that offense play so good the past few weeks, I just think that it would be more of a concern. But I'm not too worried about Michigan's offense. I think a bigger responsibility now definitely falls on McCarthy's shoulders, though, just because he doesn't have the guy that's been beside him, there. But other than that, I think that the recipe to success is still the same for Michigan, and I don't know how much their chances really do change, because the success of that team does lie on that offensive line as well, and the running back, as much as Corum does to get the yards and get the touchdowns, that offensive line is one of the best. So, I just don't count Michigan out.
You see evidence in the Illinois game. I do like Donovan Edwards, but I mean Corum
is better.
should be
he's a
considered.
borderline Heisman. He's a borderline Heisman finalist. Like I understand. I'm just saying that like it's the playoff. Like we've seen Nick Foles win a Super Bowl MVP. Like I don't know if it's as big a deal or if it's going to be that big a storyline.
Yeah, and so I'm reading now. Corum has undergone surgery.
Yeah.
And his status is still up in the air. That's definitely something to watch, especially as Michigan takes on a TCU team who is very strong defensively. Has some similar issues to Michigan, to be honest, especially if Duggan is going to play the way he did in the fourth quarter of that game. But yeah, so let's talk some matchups. Of course, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. What are the picks for those two games for you guys?
I just told you how much I like Georgia, so I think I got Georgia going for the win against Ohio State, and then Michigan. This is an up in the air pick for me, but I'm sticking with Michigan against TCU. I just didn't see enough out of that Kansas State game, and I don't see any other like matchups throughout the rest of their season that like it really impresses me. So Michigan, on the other hand, a couple good wins. Ohio State, one of them. So I like Michigan.
Yeah, I have the exact same college football playoff final as you, Tyler. I have Georgia, Michigan playing in the Natty. Between those two, I think it's a toss up right now, and we don't even know if they're gonna get there. But I think that those two teams are just so much better than the field, and the only team that comes close to them is Ohio State. I don't even think Alabama, Tennessee, like TCU, USC. I just think that they're all a step below, and it really does just come down to Georgia, Michigan, and then maybe Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to go chalk. I think that Ohio State has a better chance of beating Georgia than TCU has of beating Michigan. Michigan is probably the hottest team in the country right now, or one of. I mean, bar Georgia, but you know what they've been doing the whole year. I think in terms of the kind of results
And
that
last
they're getting.
year.
Yeah, and I do think that Georgia will beat Michigan in the national championship game. If you two want to give your picks for the Natty.
Yeah, I think Georgia wins by 20 in the championship game.
Right now, I got Georgia, but it would be nice to see them go against Ohio State, because then we'll have a common opponent to kind of judge Michigan and Georgia by. So that pick could change, but right now, I mean, it's got to be Georgia.
Yeah, and then let's go through the rest. Let's go through the New Year's Six this year. Some tasty matchups that we've seen. Let's start with the one we touched on earlier, Tennessee Clemson. Once again, I think this game is going to be a ton of fun, especially now that it's looking like Klubnik is going to start. He should definitely start. But you've got Joe Milton, who has to come in and deputize for Hendon Hooker, who was the Heisman favorite until he went down.
Yeah.
And then you've got, so it's a battle of two backups leading, well, one electric offense and then one offense who I don't think we've seen everything that they can do.
Yeah, two very similar teams who have experienced very similar situations coming down to the end of their season. Now, you just mentioned two backup starting quarterbacks. Tennessee did lose Hendon Hooker, but do not count their backup out. Milton's a great thrower. He's an electric player. He's just like Hendon Hooker, and he will be the future of this Tennessee team. I also like Cade Klubnik. He brought another energy to this Clemson offense that wasn't able to convert on third downs because they weren't able to pass the ball. And I think when it comes to matchups, I like Clemson a lot more than Tennessee, mainly due to defense. Their defense is much better when it comes to containing good passing offenses. And with the way their offense just played against UNC, I mean, they just shut down. Did Drake May play? They just shut down Drake May. So, I mean, I like Clemson.
I agree. I agree with everything that you had to say about the backups, everything about the matchups. I think that where I disagree is where you talk about Clemson and their defense. It's a defense that hasn't really been tested. I understand that with the ACC schedule, you play a lot of potent offenses, but they're not as they're just not as deep as Tennessee's. Tennessee has guys, especially at the receiver position, where they will just be able to slice them up, going vertical if Clemson isn't on their games. Like Clemson, if you look at their last 2 games that they've played polar opposites. Carolina, and then this past game against North Carolina, they were able to produce completely different results. But I would like to say that Carolina and North Carolina play the same. They play a similar style where they like to use their talent at wide receiver and they have athletic quarterbacks. But I just think it depends on what Clemson shows up. I think that Tennessee does have the upper hand in the matchup though, because Milton has had more time to get familiarized with the offense, and I just think that Tennessee they've had a better season. They've been tested a little bit more, and it just comes down to a bowl game win for them, I think.
Yeah, Tennessee's defense has looked horrendous at times, as we're very aware of.
We've seen it live, firsthand. And
I mean, I don't know. I would really like them to just murder Clemson, but I think that Cade Klubnik might dice him up a little bit. He looked great against North Carolina.
He's looked great every time he's filled in.
He's
obviously DJ as well. DJ. I mean, he's come in and relieved for DJ a few times, and he's looked great every time. I don't know why Dabo hasn't started him yet.
Yeah, so we'll see. Give me Clemson in this one. I don't think Tennessee's defense can get it done. Moving on to the Sugar Bowl. Alabama versus Kansas State. Alabama favored by only 5 in this game. I thought it would be more, but I guess after Kansas State pulled off that excellent performance against TCU, they deserve some more respect. I mean, the Crimson Tide. There are people clamoring for them to make the playoff. I never really understood it. You can't lose 2 games and expect to be put in. You can probably say that they're better than TCU, just like on paper. I think that just position by position, I don't think that's like a terrible take, but that's not what the college football playoff is like about.
Yeah, or they just look at the recruiting.
It's about true. It's about Texas A&M would be in the college football playoff.
Exactly.
It's about who deserves to be there most. TCU certainly deserves to be there. Alabama did not. I think this will be a really good game. Kansas State, I think, has the tools to give Alabama some problems. They have a dynamic, unpredictable offense. They've got some playmakers, and then they've got a good, solid defense. I will be interested to see how they hold up against a team with offensive talent as just electric and athletic as Alabama's.
Yeah, no, I think this Alabama-TCU game is going to be really good, really close. And -5 I think is a solid spread. I don't think Alabama should be favored any higher because this Kansas State team is coming off a hot win against TCU for their conference championship. But I still like Alabama to win this game. We constantly talk about Bama being Bama, and when it comes to bowl games, I just think Nick Saban is going to continue that streak. He's going to get another one. Bryce Young, as many people throw negative shade after this season, this is one of Bama's weaker teams they've had in a couple years, but they're still an elite talent. This is a Kansas State team that plays tough as a team, but you don't see as much individual talent. When you get all those great players playing at an elite level at the same time, like Bama can, it can get ugly. I did say Kansas State would play a good game with them, but I do think Bama takes the win.
Yeah, Bama's winning. I take the spread. I think they win by. I think they win by more than 10. There's a difference in college football at least, and that's why you see blowouts in bowl games and you see blowouts in the college football playoff. Sometimes teams will just meet a team that they haven't gone up against that caliber of a squad, and I think that Alabama, years in the past where they've missed out on the playoffs, so they fell short of their aspirations, they come down and then they absolutely destroy some team. It was a few years ago, it was Michigan when they missed the playoff for the first time in school history. This is the second time, by the way, in school history that Alabama has missed the college football playoff.
Yeah.
That's just
And
wild to think about.
this is the eighth edition of
Yep.
the college football playoff.
And the last time that they didn't make the playoff, they played Michigan in the Citrus Bowl, and the final score was something like 35-10. So I'm not looking at it, but I'll take Bama comfortably.
Yeah, no Nick Saban press conference is gonna convince the committee to put him in the playoffs. And
Yeah, that was, by the way, that was tacky. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was a Nick Saban conference before the rankings came out on ESPN, and they literally just asked him why does Alabama deserve to get in, and then Saban just like shoved Bama propaganda. He's like, we're 3-0, we had a hard schedule, and we've like finished strong and all that. It doesn't matter.
yeah, no, we're gonna get a lot of reaction if Bama wins this game, and if it's by a lot, and if TCU gets destroyed.
and that's something that could happen. Like I understand that. I understand that the irony of that would be something else, but that's a very likely scenario.
Guess what? In 2 years, they won't have to worry about it. So they can just be patient till then, and I'm sure they'll fucking make it next year. So, it doesn't
Hey, yeah, if
really
you're a
matter.
Bama fan, man, there's literally always next year. Like,
It's like you win championships almost every other year. Like you can almost
yeah,
book
you're
it.
closer to your next championship now
Relax.
than you ever have been. So
I'm a South Carolina student who roots for the Chicago Bears. It can always be worse. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Rose Bowl. I love this matchup. I really
this is probably the best
like
bowl-
this
This is the
matchup.
best New Year's Six matchup in my opinion.
Utah taking on Penn State,
Yep.
the Rose Bowl, in a game that always delivers. The Rose Bowl always delivers without
True.
fail.
Always. It
It's
literally doesn't like. Yeah, I mean you're 100% right. The Rose Bowl is the best bowl game, by the way.
the
without a
last
doubt.
the last time the Rose Bowl didn't deliver was when my poor Iowa Hawkeyes got just prime Stanford Christian McCaffrey, like just all over the place. I think he threw
That
it.
was an awesome
I think he threw a touchdown in that game.
That game was amazing.
I stopped watching at halftime, by the way. So
Yeah.
anything cool happened.
I mean, if we're gonna go back and talk about some Rose Bowl memories, like that, just from the past few years, that Justin Herbert one stands out. That was a game where I watched him play, and I was like, wow.
Penn State USC was probably the best football
that's the one I was gonna
one of the best football games I've ever seen.
That was
on
insane.
TV.
Dory Jackson, Saquon Barkley, was John Dotson there then, or no? It wasn't him. It was
think
someone
Oh,
else.
Chris Godwin, maybe.
Yeah,
yes,
it was
Chris
Godwin.
Godwin, bro. That game was insane, man. Sam Darnold was the quarterback. USC won that one. That was so sad, man.
Michael Pittman.
Michael Pittman was there. Yeah, that was a great one. The Ohio State Utah game was very good as well.
Is Juju playing? Not yet.
no.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I mean this is gonna be another great one. I think Utah should come into this game thinking like they have the upper hand. Penn State, I mean they underwhelm every year. They they have the recruiting classes, they have the coaching. I mean, they're certainly that caliber of a team to where they should be able to compete with Michigan and Ohio State, but they've fallen short just about every year in the past 5 or 6 years now. Where do you guys think this matchup will? What do you think this matchup will give us?
Utah's been pretty hot lately. I think they got a quarterback who can rush the ball. That brings another dimension to the game. They just beat USC by 23. That should be a little alert right there. Although USC's defense not the greatest, I think Penn State a little better. I think this will be a fairly decent matchup for Utah. I like them. They're probably favored in this one. Should be more than 1.5 points in my opinion. Just a stronger overall football team in my opinion. More consistent when it comes to offense than Penn State, and that's why
That's
I like it.
that's definitely true. Penn State is so inconsistent on offense. I think this matchup will come down to the quarterback play. Cameron Rising and blanking on his name.
Sean
right now.
Clifford.
Yeah, Sean Clifford. This will be his last game. After 7, 8, 9, 10
Yeah.
years of being a Penn State.
Sean Clifford's like 29 years old.
It's a sixth year, man. He got hurt and he got a COVID year, so 6. But it's actually pretty sad to see him go. I liked him. Sean Clifford was
Big red.
he's up there as Penn State greats just because of longevity stats. Like he's gonna be up there. He has a legacy that he's built, and I hope that he gets to go out with a bang.
Right behind Trace McSorley.
All right. And the last New Year Six Bowl before we talk some Gamecock football. USC versus Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. USC only favored by 1.5 this game, which I think is interesting. I personally feel that their offensive talent is just going to be a little bit too much for Tulane to handle. I would love to see Tulane win this game, for sure.
This could be the highest scoring, one of the highest scoring bowl matchups in my opinion. Caleb Williams, although I lost to Utah, he still played pretty well.
And still probably the Heisman.
Yeah, and still definitely the Heisman.
And he got hurt, worth mentioning.
Yeah, over 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's pretty much every game for him, at least. Tulane coming off a big win against UCF, but this is USC, so I like Caleb Williams to dice up Tulane and secure the dub.
I think this will be a closer game than what people think. I think that the spread is fair. I think Tulane will be way more competitive than people think. We've seen American Conference teams kind of come out of nowhere and really compete with the creme de la creme of college football. And so I do expect Tulane to be able to put up some points, but yeah, Caleb Williams is going to be the difference maker.
Yeah, this will be a high scoring one. I'm hoping for a shootout, and I think we'll get it.
We are also talking about these matchups before the people that are
before the opt-outs.
So
a lot can change.
Exactly.
Especially for a team like USC. I think you probably see maybe like Jordan Addison sitting this one out. Just like players like that who want to protect their bodies before the draft, which, hey man, it's a professional investment. Got to do what you got to do. What you got to do.
It's a lifelong investment.
Yeah, seriously. With all that new science, I miss when science didn't exist. We could just ram our heads together as hard as we possibly could, and no one got CTE.
Hey man, they just don't care about the team that they played for.
Sports
for 4
science
years. That's
keeps
why they're sitting out.
Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts.
Andrew Luck just didn't care enough about the city of Indianapolis.
He just doesn't care, dude. Where's the mentality and the attitude to win championships and build a culture?
I hope
these guys don't have it nowadays.
Andrew Luck is like building model planes or some shit somewhere and just is like happy as hell that he
saw
doesn't play for the Colts.
I mean, we're about to talk Carolina football. I saw a comment on some Gamecock fan account where it was a post talking about our lockdowns, cornerback, first round pick.
Did he opt out? I just saw that he declared for the draft.
He's declared for the draft. He's opting out. And he is opting out. And I saw like more than a few comments like just calling him stupid and like this guy he just gave you everything for 4 damn years. Like he's not playing because he has other things to kind of worry about and do. He's moved on, and I think that it's kind of selfish of fans to criticize the decisions of players, especially when it's a bowl game. Like at the end of the day, it is just a bowl game. Like no one can tell me what their team's bowl game record is. You know what I mean? But you can talk about a specific SEC matchup from 5 years ago, but you won't be able to tell me the bowl game that you guys played in 3 years ago. Like it's not that deep.
So he actually has not revealed yet whether he will sit out of the bowl game. I would not be surprised at all if he did. However.
I mean,
did you check like his personal? Like we haven't had a press conference and stuff. Press conference is on Sunday night. So
2 days ago from
I saw a thing on
Pro Football Talk. So it could change very very soon. I saw that he posted that he is declaring. He has not. I read the whole letter. He did not say whether he was.
I think it depends where he is, like positionally ranked. Like depending on other corners who are playing, like he has a chance to like.
I don't think he cares.
You don't think?
No.
He's
not one game.
Yeah,
one,
but like
one bowl game
but
is
within
not
the
gonna change his draft
being a
style.
23rd pick compared to like a 17th pick makes a lot.
One game
makes
isn't
a
going to
big
make
difference.
that. One
financially.
game isn't going to make that difference though.
Yeah,
he's not going to take the risk.
I agree with
already
Paul
a
here.
first-round pick.
A lot of NFL teams at this point.
Yeah,
they have their draft boards
also
pretty much.
Interviews matter way more, and like all that other stuff matters as well.
And your combine numbers matter way more than your.
He's a defensive back. Like, what's he gonna do? Get 6 interceptions because he tried extra hard? Like
he might. Who knows? What if they just manned him up on like Michael Mayer the whole time and he just proved that he could also cover tight ends?
That'd be insane.
Then he would be drafted top 10.
All right, that would be cool. But Michael Mayer's also not playing, so.
Yeah.
South Carolina just proving their DBU once again. Another first round DB.
Let's talk about this matchup.
Let's give less freezing cold takes to the people, bro.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Like you look at the defensive back South Carolina's
I
produced.
don't think I give any freezing cold takes.
DBU, bro. Oh my god. Dude.
Obviously that was a joke.
Over
bro.
who
shit.
Nothing can technically the only
JC Horn.
The
who
only
else?
you
I don't know.
Stephon Gilmore, I don't know.
Like we actually do have a few. Like it's like a legitimate thing. We're like top 10 nationally, like ever.
The only positional you that's not Alabama is tight end and quarterback. So
What about DB? DB's LSU. Wide receiver could be Ohio State or Alabama.
I think if you look at the defensive backs that have come out of Alabama, like recently,
What about running backs? Georgia?
it's like hard to
Running
argue
back
against.
Georgia, yeah. No,
It's hard to
LSU
argue
has.
against
If you look at the last 10 years,
Probably.
no.
But
now
but
it's
NFL
like,
Tre'Davious White,
NFL
Patrick
production
Peterson,
running
Tyrann
backs is
Mathieu.
absolutely Alabama, by the way.
yeah.
Derek Stingley.
Last 5 years, it's got.
Has to be LSU. It has to be LSU.
LSU is DBU.
I mean, Alabama's great too.
Alabama is the best at everything. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm
we know
saying.
that, but I'm saying DBU is LSU. They own it more. They have the style of play is different. The guys that have actually done it, it's different. Like at LSU, they're like Patrick Peterson. They're like Tyrann Mathieu. Those guys dominate college football, and we're at the pinnacle of the sport. While the DBs at Alabama don't have that same kind of effect. I think that's what sets them apart.
Yeah, but what have you done for me lately? Is my whole thing.
Derek Stingley last year.
Derek Stingley actually past couple games has been going off.
Yeah, he's insane.
I mean,
That boy is locked down. Like, seriously, he's an island. He's insane.
Sure.
Anyone that's ever graced the number 7 of LSU in the last 12 years is certified raw.
Grant
Doesn't matter.
Delpit.
I'm saying current-
Grant Delpit's insane as well. And he's a safety, though.
currently, if you look at every position in the NFL, I would wager that over half of them, Alabama has the best group.
That is true.
Which is insane production. But we'll talk. That's enough on that. Let's talk some South Carolina versus Notre Dame in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, Jacksonville, Florida, December 30th.
I honestly don't have too many thoughts about this matchup.
Yeah,
yet because Notre Dame is going to be a completely different team because their backup quarterback, who is their starting quarterback right now, he was their backup entering the season. He is entering the transfer portal, and then their best offensive player is gone, and he probably won't play. Michael Mayer probably won't play in the bowl game either. So I think that we're going to see a Notre Dame team that
Michael Mayer's
they could be playing for the future, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I when this got announced, I honestly didn't hate it. For the South Carolina perspective, I think that this game will mean a lot more
A lot of
to
people
the
hated
team.
the location, Jacksonville.
Yeah, true. I think this game will mean a lot more to like South Carolina and its fans just because of where the programs have been at, like in recent times. Like this, like if you had told me we would go 8-4 and play in a bowl game against Notre Dame, I would have probably paid you money for that. Like there would have been a certain cap. I would have like paid you like $40 if you could guarantee that for me at the start of this year for South Carolina football.
Bro, Notre Dame be going 6-6 a lot.
I know, but like they were a preseason top 10 team.
I don't know. You take a look at last season, a bowl game does mean a lot in terms of momentum swings when it goes to the next season.
Like
that huge win over UNC gave our fan base such huge confidence. Ended up bringing in Spencer Rattler and some guys from the transfer portal. So you never know. South Carolina could be a huge destination for transfer portal, by the way.
yeah,
Potential, bro. We've made moves. We've made moves.
The CUSA Freshman of the Year. Let me look up his name. The Charlotte. He's a receiver from Charlotte. He's out of the transfer world. He's one to watch for South Carolina.
I mean, you say potential, but like I feel like we've already after this year.
I didn't even say potential.
I just think that after this year, we have got to be like one of the hotbeds. Like I expect us to be able to build.
Juice Wells, bro.
Yeah, Juice Wells was a transfer coming in this year.
Spencer Rattler was a transfer.
Stogner as well came with him. from
Yeah, and then of
Oklahoma.
course, yeah. I mean, I think the energy that Beamer brings as well.
Conducive for.
Yeah, conducive to success. Of course, the big question will then be, what does Rattler do? But that's something for another day.
Yeah. Early predictions. Rattler stays or goes.
I think he goes to the draft personally.
Yeah, no, I think
Unfortunately.
Bush was telling me a lot about Rattler, and I think he's gonna declare for the draft. And this isn't the worst sign for Gamecock fans because we do have Braden Davis. I mean, I would love for Spencer to stay, build that chemistry up again, but we got some good guys in the transfer portal coming around, so I wouldn't be too upset.
QB room has been one of the few places where we've had options. We've always had good options, and so yeah, I'm with you there with both of you guys. I think he's gone, but I'm not like heartbroken or sad or anything. Obviously, it's gonna take some more time to kind of get the kind of wins that I don't want to say got used to, but like. We're coming off some crazy good times right now. So I'd like to keep that going, but I'd understand now that we kind of regress a little bit and have to trust the process again.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens next for sure for South Carolina, but you still got the bowl game to worry about. Let's move on to the NFL. Very, very fun day today in NFL football. Just some quick headlines. Before we get into these quick headlines, however, I'm gonna say something on the Bears and Packers rivalry, or what is supposed to be a rivalry, and that's the fact that yes, Aaron Rodgers. He may own the Bears. That's true. That's a fair statement to
on
make.
Wikipedia, the owner of the Bears is Aaron Rodgers. In fact,
Yeah, maybe when. Yeah, that's a issue for another day. But Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. I'm not too proud to admit that. But here's what I'll say about the Green Bay Packers.
Say it.
You can go ahead and hang that banner if you want that you own the Bears, but what Aaron Rodgers will be remembered for at the end of the day is having as many NFC championships as Rex Grossman, and that the Packers organization consistently let down probably the most talented NFL quarterback of all time. He has one Super Bowl. Here, I asked Pal this earlier today. If the Kansas City Chiefs, for the duration of rest of Patrick Mahomes' 10-year deal or whatever, if they don't win any more Super Bowls, would you consider that a failure?
yes, 100%.
That's exactly what the fucking Green Bay Packers did. So, yeah, he might own the Bears. Guess what? The Bears have been absolutely terrible since 2007. So,
Aaron Rodgers already wins, but from the fact that you have to make the statement.
don't care. He can go 5-8. You're
I was waiting for him to get to it.
You're 5-8. You're 5-8 in your last career year. Jordan Love is going to be a better player than you are. Go do some hallucinogenics. I hate Aaron
Wade was going to say
Rodgers.
something absolutely groundbreaking, and then I realized it was just a salty Bears fan again.
Yeah.
I
He's
feel
like,
Listen.
he's the big cat of our podcast.
The Bears,
Yeah,
the Bears,
sadly.
the Bears are coming. The Bears will be a great NFL football team soon.
Nice.
That's my prediction.
Nice.
But yeah, so the Packers, of course, beat the Bears. I don't even know why that's in our headlines section in our notes. It's not a headline. It happens every single time
I
they
mean,
play.
obviously you had something to say about it, so.
Yeah, but I'm a Bears fan. No one else cares about that.
Yeah, you're right.
Lamar Jackson gets hurt against the Broncos. Have they said anything about his status?
He's out for days to weeks, meaning likely anywhere from 3 to 4 days to 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Not IR, not season ending.
Yeah, and just what a terrible football game that was. Jesus, the Broncos are awful.
That game
Russell
was-
Wilson.
By the way, I know the scoreline was 9 to 10, but I mean, the Ravens looked absolutely awful. Lamar Jackson, he left early in the first or midway through the first, but I just feel like even with him out there, I feel like it's been a problem that we've seen. For an extended part of this year, the offense just hasn't been able to get clicking. He hasn't had the targets he needs. He hasn't had, the ground game around him to support him, and then he himself hasn't looked good. Sometimes that's been the biggest thing is that everything else is working for him, and then Lamar Jackson hasn't played good. So, man, Baltimore is in a tough spot. We talked about it last pod, and I asked you guys how likely it was that the Bengals win the division. You both said that you think the Ravens will win it, and you guys said it with a lot of confidence. Does anything change that going into this week?
Obviously with Lamar Jackson out now, 100%.
If Lamar Jackson is able to play every game from here on out, I'm sticking with the Ravens.
Yeah,
How, bro? They almost lost to the Broncos.
it's one game.
And the
But
Broncos
they've been
defense,
doing it. It's like an
the Broncos
extended-
defense is just not bad at all.
They're like top 3 in the league.
That's
I
what I'm saying.
understand
Yeah,
that.
I know.
But the Ravens' offense has been playing bad against.
You just gotta hammer the under every time
Just
the
about
Broncos
everyone.
play. You said Huntley played a half of football, and so did Lamar earlier
It was
today.
like three and then 4 splits.
Lamar
it was a
Jackson
quarter.
threw, Lamar
I just
Jackson
said-
threw 4 passes.
Quarter.
He runs it, bro. He doesn't throw very many passes to begin with.
No, he didn't.
He had one
rush today. and
one
11
rushing
yards
attempt.
in the air.
He left midway through the first quarter. That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said they played the same amount of football. They didn't.
No,
they did not.
You can rewind it, bro. I just said
No,
that.
I know, not on the podcast. Before we started today, when we were talking about Tyler Huntley,
Oh yeah,
The
I was
greatest.
exaggerating.
he went 27 for 32. He's a good backup, and I don't know if teams. Here, I'm gonna say this once for Ethan Audie. Bring in Tyler Huntley over Daniel Jones, and the Giants will have more success.
I don't hate that take because he's better on the ground, and Dable's already shown that he
The Ravens,
can absolutely scheme a quarterback who runs.
Ethan Audie also told me that Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Taylor Heineke and Jimmy Garoppolo.
The Niners are going to bring Jimmy. The
Yeah,
Niners are
that's
going to
what I'm
bring.
saying.
The Niners
I'm not
are
gonna
talking
say
about
that.
bringing Garoppolo back.
I want to talk about.
Do you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if it means anything right now, but
Another Nick
They're
Foles.
finna trade Trey Lance. That's what it means.
no, I don't think so.
No, they probably. Won't.
The Ravens haven't scored more than 27 points in September. I mean, I don't know what you guys. What
Since
else
September,
you need to
you
do.
said?
Since September, they scored 30. They've scored more than 30 twice. They did it in September twice. They went 1-1 in those 2 games, and then since then they haven't scored more than 27. They scored 27 against the Jags and the Saints.
I think they're screwed going down the line too. I mean, their receivers can't even cap.
I'm telling you, bro, this
60
Ravens
yards.
team is ass. I was saying it last week.
They don't
and
have a clear rushing.
I was like,
leader
I'm just
either.
gonna wait. I told myself in my head, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna drag it out for too long. I think the Ravens are ass. And then I kind of just I told myself I'd wait until this week's because I knew that the Ravens are playing someone that's really bad, and then the Bengals played someone that's really good. The Bengals won and the Ravens lost. Like, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. Bengals have to be your favorite in the AFC North.
The thing is you say that, but the Bengals have Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati.
It doesn't matter. They just beat Kansas City.
Remember when
But
I said
it does
Cleveland is
does
winning
matter
the division?
because even though they
You
beat
said that.
Kansas City,
I
but
remember
the
when I
Yeah.
said that.
the other games
Watch out, remember that.
it's a new game. It's a new game. Like every single time you play. Yeah, they beat Kansas City this
Exactly.
week, but they
So
got to
it's
go
a
out
new
and play again. They got to go out and play again next week.
Exactly.
And
So
they
they'll do
play
it.
Tampa Bay, New England, Buffalo, Baltimore, which is a much tougher stretch of 5 games or 4 games than Baltimore has. And when you're doing that, when you're playing such a tough schedule, it starts to wear on you. Like at any lapse of
So
focus.
why doesn't the team that get the hardest schedule always have the worst record?
Because that's also not how it works. But when you break it down to a stretch of 4 games,
I
so
don't
you
know.
you think
I
that
you're overthinking it.
you think that the Bengals will win more games out of their stretch of Cleveland, Tampa Bay, New England, Buffalo, and Baltimore than the Ravens will out of playing the Steelers twice, playing the Browns once, and playing the
You
Falcons?
said the schedules. I think that the fact that they have a matchup with each other also gives the Bengals because that's a tie-breaking game at the end of the year. They can drop one of those games and still close it up at the end of the year. If the Ravens drop one, then now they can lose 2 out of the 4 that you just talked about. I think you're overthinking it. The Bengals are gonna win the division. Lock it in. I don't know. I think this week just kind of helped me
The Bengals are also
lock it
one.
in.
Are the Bengals are also 1-3 against the rest of the AFC North?
They're on a 4-game win streak.
That should also
They're
be
on a
said.
4-game win streak and they haven't played the rest of the division
Sound like Nick Saban
in a
right
while.
now.
Like they're gonna. Okay. They play everyone in their division.
I'm stuck between both of your takes right now. I honestly don't know. I mean, I said Cleveland last week. I'm still sticking with them. They won today by a fair amount.
I still can't believe that you said Cleveland. But hey, who knows? Let's Deshaun Watson was back today, looked rusty. Cleveland defense and special teams, could also be a function of just the Texans.
The Texans being the Texans.
Yeah.
Man. They're horrendous. I don't know. If you're a Houston Texans fan at this point, it's tough swimming for you, seeing your former all-pro quarterback beat you by a lot. Although he didn't play that well, their defense did the job. Cleveland has a little chance to make a run back in this division. We'll see if they can do it.
This boy's
Kyle's shaking his head.
He's trying to force these storylines. Like if the storyline's not there, bro. I don't know, man.
Cleveland runs the ball better than any other team in the NFL. And their defense is very good.
I do think.
And they're in a struggling
Talking
AFC
louder
North.
won't make you right. There's 5 games left, and they're behind by 3 games. They're playing.
I'm the only one who does that.
They're going up. They're going up against 2 teams that are also kind of vying for it. It's not just one team that they're going up against. And I think the Browns, they don't have very much to build off of. They did not play especially good on the offensive side of the ball. They had their defense score more touchdowns than their offense today.
All right.
I think it is to be expected with Deshaun Watson coming back. Here's what I will say, T-Bush.
Wait, say that again. I didn't hear.
He said something about Deshaun Watson.
I said that's to be
coming
expected with Deshaun Watson just coming back.
All right, we'll see next week when the Browns play the Bengals after they beat them 32-13 the first time, and then they got Ravens, Saints, Washington, Pittsburgh.
I do think that the Browns
It's a legitimate take.
have a very, very,
back. Put your money where your mouth is, bro. $10. The Browns don't make it.
a very,
To
very.
the playoffs?
Oh,
Or win the division. Whatever you want. Whatever
To
you
the
take.
playoffs. $10.
They're not fucking making it.
I think that the Browns absolutely 100% can make the playoffs, especially when you've got the teams.
They're winning
Chargers,
without
Pats,
Deshaun Watson.
Chargers, Pats, and Jets are like the 3 teams in front of the Browns right now.
Chargers
And
are like disappointing.
Chargers,
right now.
especially, none of those teams inspire any faith. If Deshaun Watson can get going, this Browns team has an argument to be one of the like top tier teams in the AFC.
I agree with you, and they just have to prove it through these next couple of weeks.
The Browns are in the Brown.
And when we see
And that may be true, but I
the
think
real test is next week when they play the they play the
it
Bengals.
is.
But no, I think they you have to start talking about them as a playoff contender now, especially with the way the defense played today.
They're gonna lose 3 more games this year. The Browns are. They're gonna finish the season with 10 losses. You can take that to the bank.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, another news: the Eagles smoked the Titans.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
I mean,
Titans to cover.
I
It's
both
a
I
safe bet if
I
you're-
saw
if you're
I saw it
listening.
I saw it happening.
I think I said it weeks ago. The Titans can't fucking defend the pass. Jalen Hurts had 380 yards and 3 touchdowns. We had 2 receivers go for 100+ yards and a touchdown.
The only
Elite ground production.
what I've
Smoked
noticed is
them by
when you
25.
talk about the Eagles, you bring out the F-bombs,
I got to.
and that's when you get
They're
passionate.
so
I
good.
love
They're
it.
so good. They're 10-1. Is your team 10-1?
No, we're
Okay.
leading the AFC
It
though.
doesn't matter. We're in the NFC. That's just as good. That's like an equal title. Tiebreaker's record. We have a better record. Eagles better team. Eagles are the best team in the NFL after this week.
Do the Eagles win a playoff game?
Yes.
At least one,
Do the Eagles win 2 playoff games?
maybe. It depends on how Jalen Hurts plays in the first playoff game.
And it also depends on who they get in the NFC Championship.
If it's the Niners, maybe not. But if it's like, I mean, if it's any divisional matchup, I'll take them. If it's the Vikings, I'll take them.
I would 100% take the Vikings.
Eagles team is good, bro. You guys were just hyping up Tennessee, and we smoked them by 25.
I said that the Eagles would win by double
We
digits.
won by double what you said we would win by. Won by
How many numbers do you think are double
no,
digits?
like 10. You said that we would.
I
win by
said
10 or
double,
more.
double digits is double digits.
We won by 20.
picked
or
the
more,
Eagles
though.
to win.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Go check that sheet.
The number 20 also has
But
2.
you're log the Titans. You heard
The
that.
number
My lock
20
of the
has
week
2
was a
digits.
Travis Kelce touchdown.
No,
which
not
didn't
sorry, not
happen.
that.
I think we went 0-3 this week.
Yeah, we did.
You said, yeah, mine was Miami. They got smoked, man. That was awful. But no, you said that the Titans to cover was a.
It was a value play.
Yeah. It was
AKA
No, the
AKA
money
ass.
line, the money
AKA
line,
ass.
The money line was a value
Value
play.
play. What was
cover.
the play?
We can run it back.
he did say cover.
Or, yeah,
Titans got smoked. You were wrong. Titans are frauds.
And then
The
the
Browns
Wasn't
have
that
a-
strong of a take? It was a little side comment at the end of your Eagles rant.
I took it personally.
Oh, man.
Call me a bro.
Where's the Jordan
and I
meme?
took that personally.
I
Dude.
took that person.
It's what it is, bro. You can tell Wade, bro. I was sitting here. I was watching the Eagles game. I was so mad. I was like thinking about everything that you said while we were winning, and I was like still mad.
All the time, yeah.
I like dude. The Eagles are the best team in the NFL this year. They're the best team. Like we don't have the MVP. I understand that. We don't have the best offense. We don't have the best defense. Like I get that. We don't have the coach of the year. I know all of those things to be true, but we are the best team. Like put together as a group, collectively. We have experienced guys. We have young guys. We have a good mix. We have vets. We have guys that have won elsewhere. We have guys that have been, stuck in Philly for the longest time. We have guys that were there during the Super Bowl, and we have guys that have, just gotten here like a week ago. If you're Dominican Soup, like the Eagles are just flat out the best team in the NFL right now. And after this week, with the Chiefs losing, I think the Chiefs were the only team that you could make a legitimate case for as to being better. They just dropped a game against Cincinnati on the road, and so Joe Burrow is like Patrick Mahomes' boogeyman. So I mean, Eagles are the best team in the NFL. Period.
I know it is weird
Look at
that
the-
Patrick Mahomes can't beat Joe Burrow. Let's hop into some of those matchups. I want to save the Chiefs-Bengals game for last because I think that was the best game of the weekend. Jets-Vikings. Mike White plays well once again, but
Almost
then
brought him back so close.
shows a little bit of the fact that he was a backup. Shows that pedigree or lack thereof just a little bit at the end. But once again, impressive. I mean, it's his job to lose now. Out there in New York, I think 100%. You have to go with him going forward with how he's performed.
The team and the offense plays better when he's playing.
Garrett Wilson. Oh my God.
Garrett Wilson. I was
So
gonna say
good.
he definitely benefits. Michael Carter didn't play today. It was Zonovan Knight.
Bro, we talked about him last.
Splitting
90
carries.
yards.
I played him in my fantasy league.
Good stuff.
In my flex.
Good pick.
I wish he had gotten The Jets had a few chances to win this game. They were inside the 10-yard line twice, could have taken the lead.
Yeah.
One time they couldn't convert from inside the 1 on 4th and goal. They ran it with Mike White. I wish they had given it to Zonovan for fantasy point purposes and for the storyline of it.
He got stuffed a couple times earlier in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they were getting stuffed with I don't know if your quarterback is going to give you a better chance of not getting stuffed. You know what I mean? Like, I understand the thought process.
Play
But,
action maybe would work better.
yeah, and I mean, Garrett Wilson, I think you like that. He was having a day. You feed the hot hand. But I'm not the coach out there. I thought that Robert Saleh has done a good job, though. And he is the coach out there. I think that a lot of people did not expect the Jets to compete. Is that the Vikings or is that the Jets?
Yeah, no, that's
I mean, the Jets. Once
two good
again,
teams.
the Jets are now 7-5, and I mean, but they got there with like just abhorrent quarterback play, like just terrible quarterback play, and they're still like winning games.
Anti-Broncos, dog.
The anti-Broncos, yeah, the exact reverse of the Broncos.
Same
But I mean,
situation
no,
exactly.
I think if Mike White can continue to produce like he has, I mean, I think you have to now look at the Jets 7-4 for the Jets. Excuse me. You now have to look at them as like a legitimately good team in the AFC. And I know I just said that the Browns like might come knocking at the door. The Jets have some games to play around with. They're 7-4. They got some space. And
That's
the
a
Vikings,
luxury.
this was a game that I think if they wanted to unestablish themselves as frauds, they needed to do a little bit more. I think it's still a good win against a solid Jets team, but they're not as good as 10-2.
Here's what I'll say.
And that's just a fact.
Here's what I'll say. Playoff teams, teams that are in the playoffs and teams that they will play in the playoffs, they convert from those chances that the Jets got late in the game. Like, period. They find a way to put the ball in, and that's just playoff football. And I think that it's stuff like that where you want to believe in the Vikings, and then they give you the most lackluster, uninspiring win. And it's like, what do I do with this? Because I don't know. I just don't know if they're playing down to the Jets level, but I don't think the Jets are that much worse of a football team. Like, so is the fact that is it just that the Vikings, that they went out there and got the best result possible, which was a win.
The Vikings did enough on offense, but I mean, this team is good enough to win a playoff football game. What concerns me is they always let up after going up leads.
Yeah, I mean, they're up 20-6 at halftime, and that's where you'd really like to see them. I mean, Mike White playing well, still a backup quarterback. You'd really like to see them kind of put their foot on the Jets' necks there and pull away.
No, yeah, I agree, but I mean, anytime Mike White is starting in the quarterback position, he's going to throw the ball. He had 10 more attempts than any other quarterback had this week. Next to Justin Herbert, he had 47. Mike White, 57. Kind of ridiculous. But he's obviously way more efficient than Zach Wilson. He can sling the ball, and he is extending the ceiling for his wide receivers' potential. Elijah Moore getting involved in the game more. Again, Zonovan Knight, we saw a name that nobody really heard of until last week. Mm-hmm. He's been playing really well, and now this Jets running back room is going to be loaded for next year.
Yeah, they have Ty Johnson coming out of the backfield as well. He's been nice. He was able to get involved. And then Elijah Moore and James Robinson and Zonovan Knight, all those guys you talked about already. I want to talk about the Vikings just a little bit longer. I just want to mention. I just think that Kirk Cousins, he is quite possibly the biggest enigma in the NFL.
I think he's just the most average quarterback of all time.
I think he's. I mean, listen to this. He went 21 for 37, or of 37, or of 35. Had 173 yards and a touchdown. I just don't know how your production is so low with Thielen, Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, Jalen Reagor, Dalvin Cook. Like, you have guys, Alexander Madison, that come out and those are reliable targets. And the fact that you still can't get more than 200 yards, and you get to drop back and throw the ball 35 times. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that at some point you have to stop being okay with average. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like even dude, imagine if Mike White had this offense to his disposal. He'd be throwing 700 yards a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just if once again they're now at a plus 10 point differential, but they're 10-2, I think that really tells you like
They're not that good.
all you need to know is that they get blown out by good teams. They beat the Bills. They have a couple of solid wins.
They have one solid win.
I'd say this is a solid win. Jets are 7-4.
I know you just
This
hate
isn't a
the
solid win,
Vikings
though. This
because it's
isn't
the
a
only
solid-
other viable NFC team with a similar record to the Eagles.
The Cowboys are right there. I mean, the Niners are the record is in there. They're just as good. The Seahawks.
They're the closest team to the
Seahawks are
the Eagles in record.
Seahawks aren't gonna do.
They are in
jack.
record, but nowhere near on the field production. What did we smoked them? We already played them. That's settled. I don't have any beef with the Vikings. I just think they suck and they waste talent of a lot of good, talented football players, including
How do they suck if they're 10-2 and just beat the Jets?
they suck because
They don't
point
suck.
differential-
They didn't even play bad. They just let up and still won
Just because they're
against
fraudulent.
the Jets team, who was
They're
better.
fraudulent. Okay,
Doesn't mean that
I'll
they're-
change my
This
statement. They
Jets
don't
team is
suck.
playing at its
they-
best that it's
They're
had all
obviously
season,
they're obviously a very good NFL team. They have
and they
10
beat the
wins.
Bills.
They have 10 wins on the year. Oh, that's why. Because
The
they
Jets
beat the Bills. Oh, obvious motivation for one to make the Vikings sound good. But no, I think the Vikings are just absolute incomplete frauds. And
Yeah.
like you have to. I feel like I have to call them out on this because the fact that they're 10-2 is that's a tragedy, bro. That's worse than the fact that the Giants were 7-2 at one point this year, whatever it was.
Yeah, the Giants starting to come back to earth. Let's talk about that game a little bit. A tie that could have some crazy NFC playoff implications, to be honest.
seriously.
I'll be interested
That's
to
a
see
loophole.
I'll be interested to see all the stories that come of that at the end of the year. But
Yeah.
just a game that really, really fizzled towards the end. The Giants let Taylor Heineke just grind his way down the field, get that game-tying touchdown. Daniel Jones, very good on the ground. I'll give him that credit. Just bone-crushing lead, just mediocre once again. Brian Robinson played very well, but just, you know what they say, man. A tie is like kissing your sister, No one.
What?
You never heard that saying?
No, I've heard of it. Yeah,
I have not heard that saying.
Giants.
He's not gonna explain it.
Like you saw at the end of the game, like no one looked happy with that result from either of them. And guess what? They got to do it again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, seriously, the Giants are in a world of pain. They're about to slide down these rankings quicker than a fireman going down a pole, man. I don't know what goes down fast, but they're I mean, if you look at the rest of this NFC, man, I think the Packers are they're gonna keep winning just a few football games to keep themselves relevant in that talk, and I think that them and Washington will be able to put enough pressure on this Giants team to kind of like take him out of the picture altogether. Because I think the Seahawks team they're gonna lock it up rather soon, and then we know the Cowboys and Eagles, whichever one of them wins the division, will get a very good seed, and then the other one, they'll get their wild card spot locked up as well. So I think that the last NFC spot is about to come down to the Giants, Commanders, and maybe the Packers.
Giants defense kept them in this game. It's not a good sign when you are only using 2 players for your entire offense. Daniel Jones, 12 carries. Barkley, 18 carries.
Wow.
134 yards from both of them. But this offensive line was struggling. A bunch of those carries were just like evading the pocket.
They had
Stuff
5
like that.
sacks. The Giants defense
Yeah.
had 5 sacks. I thought that was a big part of this
Commanders
game.
defense had 4. So
Yeah, the defenses on both sides played good, but I wanted to shout out the Giants defense because I think that
Yeah, they
Washington's
stepped up.
offense they've been on a tear. Washington was one of the hottest teams coming into this matchup, and this might be like a very soccer kind of take, but that was like a good draw for the Giants. Like they had to, or a tie. They had to I feel like the Giants had to work more to get that tie. I know that it was the Commanders that forced overtime, but
I agree. I mean, offensively, Washington looked more dominant, but Giants defense was able to hold up.
yeah, seriously. We talked about that Giants defense before. They're the better unit on this team. We know that. I just think that this kind of sucks because we don't really know on paper yet. Who's the better team, and I think that the matchup, 2 weeks from now is going to mean so much more.
Yeah, this really sucks that they tied. Like, I really hate that they tied. I wish the Commanders just won so I could just slander the Giants some more.
It'll be
We have to wait for
Get off
that.
the rematch in Washington in a couple of weeks. Let's move on to a game that had a sort of college football flavor in the fact that Mike McDaniel got the Saban assistant treatment as the Niners smoke the Dolphins. Tua
sold.
struggled today. And you see, like, it's games like this, like, where you see it's like the duality of Tua, and you've got people in both camps. You've got the people who think he sucks. You have the people who think he's a star. The truth is he's somewhere in the middle. He's a pretty good NFL quarterback.
He's a little bit better than pretty good. Like, you can't discredit the whole year off one performance. He's if he hadn't missed a few games and had just played a run-of-the-mill average Tua game, and put up 25 points and didn't miss 2 games because of the head injuries.
Yeah,
he'd be a top 3, top 5 MVP candidate.
Yeah, but take away Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
But you can't. That's his team.
Take away one of those guys.
Take away Travis Kelce.
And they did for part of the game.
Take away
and
Stephon Diggs.
Offense couldn't do anything.
Take away Stephon Diggs. You just can't. I understand that he has a
Stop
ridiculously.
saying you just can't. We can talk about that 100%. We can talk about if they couldn't have him, like the duality, like he just said they didn't have him for a portion of the game.
He didn't have Waddle for about half of it, and they did struggle. But I think that the whole team is like figuring it out though. I think that Tua, I don't really consider his last year to be a proper rookie year, with everything that kind of went down in Miami towards the end of the year. And I think that this is more so his rookie year because he's not only learning a new system, he's doing it with a lot of new teammates, and he's doing it while he's like figured out how to win in the NFL. Last year he just didn't have the environment that was conducive for a rookie to kind of step in and lead a football team.
I don't really think we need to overreact about this game
too
much because this is a good Niners team. Tua's been the highest rated passer of all year.
This has been the best Niners game since they've gotten Christian McCaffrey, I think.
I will say the reason why I put Tua in the pretty good category of quarterback is that he can't make the throws that a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Justin Herbert can. He doesn't have the arm strength. I mean, he's solid, he's accurate, he's smart. He struggled today against a great defense, a defense that had not allowed a second half point for 5 games, which was a crazy stat when they said that on the broadcast. I actually couldn't believe it until this game. So they broke that streak, the Dolphins. But yeah, I wouldn't read too much into this one if you're a Dolphins fan. The Niners are a juggernaut at home, and they're just hitting their stride. Should shout out Brock Purdy. Came in, played pretty well, third-string quarterback.
Brock Purdy's him.
He played really well. Debo looked great. Christian McCaffrey looked great. I thought this was one of the best games for Kyle Shanahan as a play caller this year. I think that not having Jimmy G made him kind of take it down a notch. They weren't so complicated on offense, kind of got back to their bread and butter. And their bread and butter happens to be run the football and use the playmakers that they have, especially Debo.
Yeah. Great win for the 49ers. I think this really they've really announced themselves as Super Bowl contenders with this win. I think everyone kind of thought they were on that fringe, but this absolutely has to put them in the conversation. It does depend on what you think of Miami, but I think of Miami pretty highly as a football team. So
the Niners are the second best team in the NFC right now. Not even close.
I think the Cowboys have an argument. I will say
they do. So do the Vikings. I mean,
yeah,
by the record for sure. And then just
that the Vikings are frauds.
The second best team in the NFC right now. Doesn't mean that they're like.
I mean, they got smoked. They got smoked by the Cowboys. I don't see how you can say the Vikings are better than the Dallas Cowboys, especially after that.
That is true, but I feel like we also haven't seen the Cowboys really hit the stride, especially like I think that with Dak only getting better, the Cowboys are only going to get better as the season comes to a close. Like I feel like for the Cowboys, they're still like on their week 5 or 6 kind of mentality because they haven't had Dak the whole year.
As we talk about the Cowboys, they're up 7-3 against the Colts right now. 5 minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah, I think they'll probably win that game, and I really do. I like this Cowboys team a lot. The NFC is going to be a dogfight this year in the playoffs.
After the Colts, they get Houston, and then Jacksonville, Philly, Tennessee, 2 tough games, and then Washington.
Another tough
game. So
yeah, and let's talk about the last matchup of the day before we hop into a very unsuccessful Salty Nut Locks of the Week recap. Bengals-Chiefs. It's starting to become like Chiefs-Bills. All these young quarterbacks in the AFC just play electric games every single time they face off, and I'm here for that, man. Like that's great for football that this is going on.
Jamar Chase is simply amazing. Every game he plays, you can try to contain him, but he's only gonna beat you. He is just. There was one play, Chiefs gave it to him, or not Chiefs. Burrow gave him the ball. It was like a 3rd and 4. Chiefs probably had him for a 1-yard gain. They had 3 guys lined up right in front of him, and they were kind of like it was like almost like a quarterback contained on the receiver as soon as he caught the ball. He just did a quick and was able to beat all the receivers and gain like 7 yards on the play. He's just like that yak we talk about constantly. Super important. He gets those extra yards. He gets those first downs. And these receivers, Tyler Boyd dropped a huge touchdown today, but
yeah, that pass was crazy. That like just hit him in the chest and you didn't see it. But the Jamar Chase touchdown, where the ball was thrown like perfectly, like I'm talking like
T Higgins, you mean?
The T Higgins touchdown where like just right into his hands, like right above the defensive back section. Like I think that we talk about Jamar Chase very, very highly, but Joe Burrow is a huge part of it. He is like we don't talk about him in the MVP conversation as much, and a part of that is because the Bengals aren't as good as the other guys.
And I think you might have to start talking about that for Cincinnati, especially if they can prove something down this tough. They have a very tough last stretch, and if they keep
winning down the stretch, like Joe Burrow could very well run away with. Like he has the opportunity to run away with this MVP award. He certainly has the production.
One of the best pocket passers we've seen in a while. Definitely, you see Mahomes and Allen. They're able to get out and throw in their run. Burrow is a great runner as a quarterback as well. He tends to stay in the pocket a little more. His awareness when it comes to just like swimming around in that pocket. I saw it a bunch of times against Kansas City today. Chris Jones, scary defensive front for KC. If he's just able to stay in there for a half a second and wait for Jamar Chase's hands to get open behind that defender, it's another 15 yards. So those a couple extra seconds in the pocket make a huge difference when it comes to making big plays, and the Cincinnati Bengals are known for that.
Yeah, I will say shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals defense. It feels wild that 223 yards and 2 total touchdowns for a quarterback is considered an off day, but that's where we are with Patty Mahomes. Still made some just like absolutely ridiculous throws.
He had that one jump
off the back foot he had the one jump pass.
He had the jump pass and he had a jump touchdown too.
Yeah, and then the touchdown was incredible.
The touchdown was crazy.
One throw that stood out to me, it was like halfway through the third quarter, off his back foot, just like basically sets it into Marquez Valdes-Scantling's hands.
That was crazy.
Just a ridiculous player. A player that I think that you can probably already put into like the pantheon of NFL quarterbacks just in terms of pure talent. I mean, he's like nothing I've ever seen before, and I've watched a lot of Aaron Rodgers and a lot of Aaron Rodgers playing very well. And Patty Mahomes on his day is even better than that, which is crazy.
That he is he's an absolute maverick. He's gonna, by the time he's done, he's gonna rewrite all the history books. I hope, but I think that with the Chiefs, if you're looking at it, this playoff stretch is about to be the hardest one that they've had yet, and they've already gotten some tough luck in the playoffs. Just getting out of the AFC is that's gonna be a battle of its own.
There's so many great teams in the NFL this year, and I think what's awesome about this year is. Like the Eagles are the closest thing we have to it, but no one is head and shoulders above anybody else, really, in terms of the top tier.
I think a lot of it does come from the fact that everyone has something that they do better than everyone else. Whether that's if you're the Chiefs and the Bills, you kind of just rely on the fact that you have Mahomes and Allen, and you can kind of just outduel everyone else and get a win. And then you have teams that do it a little bit differently. And I think that the Bengals, the Eagles, what they do is they kind of have more of a balanced, way more of a balanced attack. And
They try to control the game a little bit more.
Yeah, but I think that we don't know. I still don't think we can really say like with a definite with certainty that we know who the two best teams are in the AFC right now, because you were saying it earlier, like the Bengals play the Bills, and so they can really get into that conversation. I mean, Miami, even though they did lose today, they're still up there.
Yeah, you have Kansas City, you have Buffalo themselves, who are currently the number one seed.
Buffalo's the number one in my opinion right now after Kansas City loses.
That's what I was going to say. I think the Bills are one now.
Yeah.
Now they have to be.
See what happens.
Yeah, but
the Bills are great. Also on Thursday night.
Yeah, they really did just absolutely squeeze the life out of that Patriots team, which was really impressive.
The first time the Patriots lost in those uniforms at home.
Yeah,
those jerseys are so clean.
But yeah, crazy week in the NFL. A week that's I think told us a lot about what we can expect heading down the stretch. But let's hop into the Salty Nut locks of the week recap as we wrap up here. I will say, mine did not hit. I had Ghana beating. None of ours hit. I had Ghana beating Uruguay. But my pick. My pick. It was a win for the Ghanaian people because Uruguay still got eliminated. That's what I'll say. Shout out to Ghana, man.
Shout out to Ghana. They had a great World Cup.
I did have a very good World Cup. They had a fun World Cup. But unfortunate that they had to go out.
Receivers couldn't get it done today for the Chiefs. Not too many exciting performances. Travis Kelce was my pick for a touchdown. That didn't happen, and the Chiefs lost. So
first time in how many games he didn't score a touchdown?
I don't know, man. Like a while. He's averaging more than one touchdown a game.
So you'd think he would score. You really would.
I think he would, though.
Mine was.
I mean, it's not.
Hey man, mine wasn't any better, bro. I had the Dolphins to cover. They did not. they lost by 16 and they scored 17. Tua had more picks than drives in the red zone. I think. I'm spitballing that one. I don't know if it's true, but I watched the game and it felt like it. So.
So I live bet Miami plus 9.5.
Damn.
They get the ball back.
With down by 9.
Down by 9. They can go up the field. A minute and 53 seconds left. Literally anything can happen but a pick six.
Guess what happens?
Pick six.
It wasn't a pick six. It was a fumble recovery.
A touchdown happened.
Defensive
not for
touchdown.
the fucking Dolphins. So.
Hey, bro, I was in the same boat. I was sitting there. Last leg of the parlay was Dolphins plus 4.5. It was like the absolute last leg. The other one was the over in the Bengals game. The other stuff in the AM slate had happened, or in the 1 o'clock slate had happened. So I'm watching this and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at Wade and I'm like, this is the fact that it's a 2-score game is kind of perfect because they'll get the touchdown or field goal and then like it doesn't matter, like either score will help me. And then they, like, as I'm saying that they score and I'm like, oh my god, bro. And then Tua had, I mean, he just played awful. Like that was his worst game this year by far. Like that was Tua of last year that we saw out there.
So tough week for us. Do we want to hop into those or?
Yeah,
do we
I'll
wanna
just
wait?
say our records real quick. You guys were
This is barring Cowboys Colts. By
we
the
all
way,
picked the Cowboys,
but we all picked the Cowboys. So just
it doesn't matter. Wade and Tyler tied 8-3. I was
Again.
at 7-4.
Damn.
Hey.
Good week. Great. Actually, that's a very good week for everybody.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. The Dolphins screwed me over, or else we'd be accurate. But both of you guys picked the Jags.
Yeah.
Got that wrong. I picked
Detroit
Atlanta.
looked fucking good, bro.
I picked Atlanta. I got that one wrong. That was one of mine. And then Wade, you picked Chicago.
I mean, Detroit's looking like the
I'm on
NFC's
Ross St.
Browns
Brown.
before we get out of here.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
40 points for the Lions. I'm on St. Brown over 100 yards again. 2 tutties. Like, he's
Jamal
guaranteed
Williams had
to
a
get like
touchdown.
10 plus
DeAndre
catches.
Swift had a touchdown.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown had a touchdown.
You get a touchdown.
Exactly. It was like, dude, Trevor Lawrence, there was just scared. He messed up his, he got rolled, messed up his knee on the last play of the half. Sits out during halftime.
Back,
the
right?
Lions got the ball back to start the third, and then he came back out there in the middle of the third, or after the third quarter started, he came out there and played the rest of the game. I think he'll be fine.
The Lions still technically not out of the playoff race in the NFC.
As the Packers, right?
The Packers are actually a half game behind the Lions at 5-8. While Lions are 5-7. Yeah, but yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So that'll do it for us today. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. And we will see you all on Wednesday.